Assalamualaikum and a very good day I bid to my fellow classmates and our respective lecturer, Madam Razima. Today I would like to talk about. Hold on, Dr. Darisha is calling me. Hello. Cannot, doctor. I'm busy. Later. Do you think I will actually do not get in trouble if I do that? No, right? So today I would like to talk to you about how context can change the meaning of what we are saying depending on who we are talking to and where we are. So let's take a look at my analysis of different contexts in language use and its importance and teaching and learning. So this is the table of content. We basically are going to look at introduction, the analysis, the importance, and lastly the conclusion. Alright, first, what is context? Context is the situation, environment, circumstances in which communication takes place. It includes the setting, the surrounding, and the factors that help us understand meaning. First, let's take a look at interpersonal context. Interpersonal context refers to how two people connect and communicate with each other. This can happen face to face, through text, phone calls, emails, or social medias. It involves not only words but also non-verbal elements such as facial expression, body language, and tone of voice, all of which shape the meaning and understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, interpersonal contexts can be complex as they involve two or more people who are interdependent, each pursuing both personal and shared goals. These interactions evolve over time and consist of both individuals and joint behaviors. They often shape attitudes as conversation partners have many opportunities to influence one another, whether intentionally or unintentionally, according to each Hackov and Dinary 2022. Okay, first I choose Snow White to analyze my interpersonal context. As you all know, I'm sure all of you already know what Snow White is about, but I'm still going to enlighten you a little bit so that it will get more refreshed. Okay, Snow White is a kind and beautiful princess who lives with her jealous stepmother, the Queen. When the magic mirror tells the Queen that Snow White is the fairest of all, she becomes enraged and orders the huntsman to kill her. Snow White escapes and finds a shelter with 7 dwarfs in the forest. The Queen later disguises herself to trick Snow White with a poisoned apple. Eventually, a prince finds and revives her, breaking the spell, and they live happily ever after. Okay, let's take a look at this interpersonal interaction, which is between the Queen and
Mirror,
the Mirror.
who is the most beautiful?
Snow White is the most beautiful.
The Queen is jealous. She tells the hunter, "Take her into the forest and kill her."
Alright, so as we can see, the Queen is angry, her face is grumpy and red, and her tone is demanding. Why? Because she is talking to her servants. The magic mirror is her servant, and the huntsman is also her servant. So she is more bossy and she is more demanding, as we can see here. Okay, next, let's take a look.
Snow White tells them her story. They say,
"Poor princess, live with us."
Okay, as we can see, when Snow White tells the dwarfs about her story, the dwarfs get very sad and they empathize with her. They even offered her to live with them. So the interpersonal context here is that the 7 dwarfs saw Snow White as someone who are being wronged by her stepmother. So they offered her and they treat her with kindness by offering her to live with them, as they employs kindness, sympathy, and they even cried when they hear about her story. Okay, next.
the dwarves cry for her.
"Snow White, wake up!
Okay, so as we can see here, we know that when Snow White ate the poisoned apple, she became unconscious and the dwarfs put her in a glass coffin. So the dwarfs gather around her and they pray for Snow White to wake up. The dwarfs are crying and pleading because they are very sad. So as we can see here, the interpersonal context is that the dwarfs view Snow White as someone they really love and as someone that is very close to them, that her passing away is very harsh for them. Now, why do I think Snow White is suitable to analyze interpersonal context is because obviously the story shows different relationships, for example, between Snow White and the Queen, which is hostile, the dwarfs, friendly, and between Snow White and the Prince, which is they have a romantic interpersonal context. It allows analysis of power relations and social roles. For example, how Snow White speaks politely and humbly compared to the Queen's commanding tone. Learners can explore how language changes depending on who is speaking to whom. For example, respectful or threatening or friendly, etc. It also highlights emotions and attitudes that influence how characters communicate, whether they communicate with jealousy, kindness, or authority.
The dwarves shout, "Hooray! Snow White is alive!"
Okay, as you can see here, when Snow White finally wakes up, when the prince finally revives her, the dwarfs, they get very overjoyed, jumping, smiling, shouting with excitement, expressing happiness and gratitude. It further proves my point that Snow White is someone that they love dearly. Okay, next we're going to take a look at importance of context in language use for the interpersonal context. As you can see here, interpersonal context shapes how learners interact with others through tone, expression, and attitudes because, according to Batt and Kingsley 2020, nonverbal communication plays an essential role in ensuring effective communication. Secondly, interpersonal context is important because it teaches students that communication is not just about words, but also about building relationships, showing respect, and expressing emotions appropriately. This is crucial to avoid pragmatic failure, which reinforces that learner may master grammar and vocabulary, yet still struggle to communicate if they lack understanding or social conventions and communication rules. Third, it helps pupils develop empathy, social awareness, and confidence in real conversations. For example, students with strong emotional intelligence are better adapted to society according to studies that I found. They can also manage their emotions effectively, understand both their own and others' feelings, and achieve interaction goals more easily. Let's take a look at some classroom implementation for interpersonal context as to how teachers can teach interpersonal context in the classroom so that students may gain the ability to master emotional intelligence. First, teachers can do role play activities. How? So teachers have pupils to act out short dialogues, for example, apologizing, thanking, or asking politely, so that students can practice tone, politeness, and body language. Next, emotion-based dialogues. Teachers give students scenarios, for example, happy, sad, angry, surprised, and let them practice saying the same sentence in different tones. For example, I'm going to say, "You are coming with me" in a happy tone. "You are coming with me." But if I want to say, "You are coming with me" with a sad or disappointed tone, I would say, "You're coming with me." See, that's the difference. Okay, next, students can also do peer interviews. Pupils interview classmates about hobbies or family, practicing eye contact, active listening, and turn-taking, which is key essentials in language mastery. Okay, next we're going to take a look at the second context, which is situational. What is situational context? Situational context refers to the reason why communication occurs and the appropriate behaviors or action linked to that situation. It influences what is considered socially acceptable, and how a message is received, making it an important factor that shape effective communication. According to Cannell, 1983, she explains this through the concept of social linguistic competence, which is the ability to use language appropriately in speech, such as greeting, requesting, or refusing, while taking into account the setting, topic, and cultural norms. Learners with this competence can adjust to social context and avoid miscommunication arising from differences in genre, topic, or background.
Crack!
Come quick,
Okay, we are going to take a look at some examples. I chose The Ugly Duckling as my story. So basically, The Ugly Duckling is a story of a little duckling who looks different from his siblings. He is teased and rejected by other animals for being ugly. Feeling lonely, he leaves home and endures hardships through the seasons. When spring comes, he sees a grove of swans and realizes that he has grown into a beautiful swan himself. The story ends with him finally accepted and proud of who he is. Now, why do I think The Ugly Duckling would be a suitable choice for this situational context as an example? Okay, why is because the story follows a duckling through different situations and environments. For example, the farmyard, the pond, the wild, and finally the swan lake. Each setting changes the way he behaves and communicates, reflecting how context shapes communication. It allows learners to discuss how social acceptance and self-perception influence interaction in different situations. The story also models how one's responses and emotions change depending on the situation. For example, being rejected versus being accepted. Okay, let's take a look at the example.
Crack!
Come quick, my eggs are ready to hatch.
Mama Duck said to the other ducks. The other ducks gathered around as the eggs cracked open one by one.
Okay, so as we can see here, the mother duck is hibernating her eggs. So she invited the other ducklings to witness her hatching eggs. She uses informal language and trusted them to watch her eggs crack, which signals their close relationships. For example, if you see an animal trying to give birth or trying to hatch your eggs, they do it very secretly. So in here, when mother duck says, "Come, watch my eggs hatch," it shows that she is very close to the other animals, and in addition, she also uses informal languages. Next example.
Why is he grey?
Quacked one of the other ducks.
And why is his beak black?
Asked another duck.
What an ugly duckling!
Snorted a pig.
Don't be rude.
Shouted Mama Duck.
He's not ugly, he is special.
Mama Duck insisted.
Yeah, as you can see here, the dogs and the pig insulted the ugly duckling because he looked different. So the mother duck was offended and shouted, "Don't be rude, it's not ugly, it's special." So it was only appropriate for her to respond that way because they insulted her child. So let's take a look at here. If you've ever feel insulted or you feel like you don't like how you look, here you can click here for some positive affirmations. Next.
Sorry to bother you.
Said the ugly duckling.
Have you seen any ducklings like me? No.
Said the chickens.
Okay, so when the ugly duckling left his family to go to find other ducklings that look like him, on the way he asked several animals, "Have you seen another duckling like me?" So when the ugly duckling asked a chicken, which is a stranger to him, he uses a polite tone. For example, "Sorry to bother you. Have you seen ducklings like me?" He used formal and polite tones since he was asking strangers. Okay, so what is the importance of context to language use for situational context? It guides what language is appropriate in different settings. Second, learners must understand that language used in class differs from language used at home, the market, or with strangers. Recognizing situational context builds flexibility, social competence, and communicative accuracy in real-world situations. Designing real-life situations benefits not only learners but also teachers and facilitators, as they are responsible for creating circumstances that closely mirror authentic language use. So these are the classroom implementation as to how teachers can implement situational context to teach their pupils to master situational context in language use. First, they can do a guessing game. For example, where am I game, where pupils are given a situation, for example, in a shop, in school, or at the doctor, and they must role-play using suitable expression for that setting. Second is storytelling with scenarios. After reading a story like The Ugly Duckling, pupils identify how characters change their language depending on the situation they acted out, so they can master how they communicate in different settings and with different people. So these activities are chosen because research shows that creating a real-life situation and context provides practical and authentic learning experiences, keeping learners interested, engaged, and motivated while bringing language closer to real-life use according to researchers. Okay, next, teachers can also do some politeness matter, where pupils rewrite the same request in 3 ways. First, casual with friends. Second, polite with teachers. And third, formal with strangers. Okay, according to Himes 1967, language learning goes beyond mastering grammar and form. It also involves using language appropriately in different contexts. So by doing the activity that reflects this principle, for example, helping learners practice adjusting their language based on audience and situation will further help pupils to master situational context in language use. And these activities are chosen because they are student-centered and encourages active participation. The learning by doing method, introduced by John Dewey in 1972, emphasizes that learners must actively experience what they are learning. This approach was chosen for its effectiveness in providing a direct, hands-on way of learning. Using a culinary theme makes the process even more engaging as it connects the students' daily lives and sparks the interest in learning English. In conclusion, context is essential for meaningful language use. Interpersonal context teaches learners how to build relationships through tone, emotion, and respect, while situational context help them use language appropriately in different settings. In the classroom, simple activities like role play, storytelling, and scenario-based dialogues make English learning more practical, inclusive, and engaging for Year 5 pupils. Okay, if you want to do quiz, you can click here. Oops. And it will take you to this website. That is all from me. I hope you enjoy my presentation. Thank you very much.